We're trying to get online.
I think
Yeah.
we're in. I think that was it.
So one of the things, and this is a good point, because sometimes I forget that you haven't been sitting there for 10 years. We used to have finance directors that would not tell us the revenue. Because they were afraid that we would then start to judge the departments based on how much money they were able to bring in. And not as the services that they provide. So it was
There's other
always
people
a
that they
push
didn't
and a
tell.
shove on getting that information. They didn't want to necessarily tell us, because sometimes even if it isn't, if there's an expense, it's a service that. And we've kind of moved away from that, because we are looking at these departments, and unless they're core departments, we've got to make sure that they're fee-based, that we're doing our best to cover whatever portion of those expenses we've deemed appropriate.
But at a time when we're really looking for revenue,
Yeah, I hear you.
you know, we should be doing everything we can to get those departments to have what they need to keep those services at a premium, so that we can charge for those premiums.
Unfortunately, with him, a lot of it is capped by the state. So I think that the only ones that you can do anything with, you're going back to fiscal advisory,
Yeah.
because I agree with you
And
100%.
the other thing, with, fees,
There are the two fees, but you can't, some are capped.
yeah. Oh, so one of the things that when I look at the shellfish fees and things like that, the other thing is, I hadn't until this year asked the cost of Jim, saying, what's the cost? Because we need to make sure that we're not afforded the opportunity to just be giving things away at this point. We need to make sure that everything is accounted for, and we're doing our due diligence to say, are we capturing everything?
All our expenses.
Yeah.
Yep.
And make sure that if we have the opportunity, whether it may not be pleasant, but we need to start looking at the things that were kind of just like, oh, well, that's just the way we've been doing it. We're not afforded that opportunity.
Well, be careful, because to a certain extent, taxpayers are paying for your department to our tax rate. And we do expect a service from you, right? We don't necessarily have to make you a profitable center. At the same time, I'm paying taxes for the same service.
Mhm.
So there's a cross line where you can't get too far ahead of your skis, where
Right,
you suddenly become a money-making operation, because you're not allowed to do that.
right. And I would gladly love to have that as the problem. part. I think that would be a phenomenal.
But I think that was
problem.
where the discussion was headed.
But, oh, no, yeah, but I think the other thing, oh, I remember what it was Waterways Improvement Fund. So a lot of this is here, goes for waterways improvement. That's, you're not gonna see on this, you're gonna see that in capital requests. So that lives in another fund for those,
Expensive.
which are paid.
Right. Do you have anything big on capital this year that you're asking for?
I have some,
Some things.
yeah, I'm looking to replace the collar on a boat. Redo all the chains on the chains and moorings for the town facility. And then I don't think anything,
How are those boats?
so they're great. I just went to CPC this morning to see if they would support doing those modular floats at Fish.
Excellent.
Good
I'm
question.
sorry,
Yep.
Sean. Don't wait for me to see you, just gonna yell.
No, I'm good, thank you. Like I remember last year you mentioning that there is quite an extensive wait list for moorings.
Yes,
For anybody who comes off of that wait list, is their permit cost the same as anyone who's, say, been on there for 20, 30 years? Or is there any grandparented discount that comes?
for the, I guess,
Is it a one-time cost or is it yearly?
for the wait list.
No, once you get.
Somebody
the-
coming off the wait list, are they paying the same amount as somebody who has had a mooring for 20 years?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah, it's the same fee. Once you have the mooring, it's a per foot cost.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the additional float cost. So I feel like unfortunately I've been doing this too many times where I've asked for money. And then by the time it comes to actually constructing the floats, I don't have enough money. So I'm not asking for an additional float. I'm just looking to cover
What you got?
increasing, and again, I hope. I'm not gonna have to do it again.
Yeah.
But at next, the idea was, I would have all the floats replaced, and then I would do bottom gear with moorings and chains. But unfortunately, it's kind of all a little backed up now, because,
Coming at the same time?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Do you have enough staff to do the work?
For the moorings, I have to contract that.
So we contract that out,
Yep.
okay,
And Jake does it too.
right, but that's in your, under, your contractual work? Where's your contractual fees?
I don't have,
If you have to pay a third party to do some of this work, where's that on the budget?
it comes out of a capital request.
Oh, it's not capital,
Yeah.
okay, so it's covered in
Yeah,
capital,
Yes,
right.
exactly, I'm sorry, yeah.
No, it's fine. All right, anybody else have any questions
No.
for Mr. Emerson?
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Would you like to be Captain Emerson, or do you have a preference?
Jakey's.
Jakey's good. Jakey's
Jakey's
good.
good.
Yeah, no, seriously. You're a scam.
If it pleases the chair, I could make a quick comment for CPC. This is Tag.
See you, Tag, what's up?
Just wanted to mention that CPC voted this morning after Jake left to unanimously support the request for capital for the Bluefish River float for March town meeting.
There you go. You're a hero, buddy. Thank you. Thanks, Tag.
You're welcome.
What's that?
What about the Harbor Walk?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know how that was.
Tag?
Tag, you still there? Oh, Tag, did you hang up?
And no, I didn't hang up. I'm still here lurking in the background.
Harbor Walk.
The Harbor Walk, let me go to my notes here. Well, there were four votes taken. Alden Graves site, Harbor Walk was unanimously supported, yes.
Oh, good, okay.
Yep.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, previews of coming attractions, right?
Yep.
All right. Jake, go home to your family, kids.
See ya.
Yes, absolutely. There was not any delay on that, was there? No, that was.
Halfway out the door.
That was just, yeah,
I can
bye.
hear you. I'm a jiggle my stuff.
I'd see you later.
Thank you very much for your time and listening to me.
Okay, thanks, Jake.
Sorry for all the technical issues I caused. You can blame it on me.
Always a pleasure,
Thank you.
always a pleasure. All right, who's next on the agenda?
HR.
HR, Jeannie.
Yeah.
Where are you, buddy?
I do have hard copies of the
Oh,
presentation
thank
if people want it. I never know what that is or not, so.
Yeah.
I understand you wanted to.
So we don't have to stay. Do you have it looked at? Stay, but I ordered my. Okay, yeah. But I just didn't, the only one we're really torturing is Joe. 'Cause why wouldn't?
I got Matt here to help.
Yeah, that's right. Back up.
You'll learn
All
for
right.
next time.
Okay. Ready? Oh, thank you.
Well, I already screwed up your anniversary. What else can I do? Did you? Oh, good. My fault.
It wasn't your
Time reservation.
Well, see, I communicated to her to say, hey, listen, you didn't tell me what time we were going out, you just said we're going out.
Oh, that was a bold.
It
move on
didn't
the
work out.
anniversary.
It didn't work out.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I would have to wait for that. Sure that was a politically adept move there, but Joe, whatever. Okay, Jeannie.
Okay. Here we are. So I'm here to present, the Human Resources Department, budget for fiscal year 26. All of the numbers are at the back, sneak preview. But I just want to kind of walk through a little bit of the department function before we get there. So, on the first page of the presentation, we have the mission of the HR department, which is on the HR webpage. And our mission is to serve town officials, supervisors, and employees in a fair, consistent, and lawful manner, and create and administer policies and practices that sustain professional, productive, efficient, and innovative work environments, which support the town and its departments in effectively performing their missions. So, part of our, so that's our mission, and then next to that is a Wordle with some phrases that represent the work of human resources. So we do labor relations, we do, market jumps off the page as well, as we've just completed a draft classification and compensation study, which I will get to the finance committee. I can distribute that tomorrow. We just released it yesterday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're all about people, organization, resources, and employees, and providing, a sense of belonging and being productive. So those are just some samples. And on the next page, we have a organizational chart. So it's a small department. We have just 3 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee who's been there longer than me. He's been there 17 years, Phyllis Hughes. And so there's myself as the Human Resources Director, Kim DeGrace, who is our Human Resources Assistant Director, and then we have a Human Resources Manager and our Benefits Specialist. So we are responsible for administering benefits for all of the town of Duxbury. So that includes all of our town employees, school employees, and all of our combined retirees. In addition to that, we handle our risk management based insurances. So we have workers' compensation and injured on duty, which is also referred to as 111F. It's like the workers' comp for police and fire specifically. And we also handle all of the recruitment for the town, and we partner with departments to conduct those recruitment efforts, and we standardize those practices throughout the town. And we handle all the employee onboarding and offboarding in terms of policies, procedures, and payroll. And we handle employee relations, labor relations, all collective bargaining, and all contract interpretation. In cooperation oftentimes with finance department and payroll and individual departments. We conduct workplace investigations, reasonable accommodations when necessary with employees. We coach departments on progressive discipline to make sure that progressive discipline is fair and equitable across the organization. We handle all manner of employee leaves. We handle the reasonable suspicion and DOT random drug testing programs that we're required to provide to our employees, particularly those who have commercial driver's licenses. So those are predominantly our, almost every DPW collective bargaining unit employee has a commercial driver's license. We handle performance management, organizational development, employee recognition, and employee wellness.
Could you, on the schools, is it just benefit administration and workers' comp that you handle for the schools? Does the HR department at the schools handle everything else, or do you have to pick up some of the rest of it?
We consult with each other. So we partner,
Right.
on like FMLA leaves, just to make sure that we're being consistent. And yeah, so wellness and all benefits.
You don't get involved in the hiring recruitment. With the schools.
And payroll and,
No,
okay.
Different systems.
different, the same system, but different processes, yes,
Okay, thank you.
similar systems. Welcome. So a snapshot of who we serve. There are 652 town employees. This includes, of course, all seasonal, intermittent, on-call, regular, and part-time employees. And it also includes like our senior tax work-off people. So that number is a little bit bigger than you would expect. Of those employees, 216 of them are benefit eligible. And then on the school side, as Betsy just indicated, we support 690, well, really, we support technically 690 school employees, but predominantly that support is in the form of benefit support for the 477 full-time benefit eligible employees. And then we have a combined 748 town and school retirees. So we handle all of the benefit administration for those retirees as well. So that is, for retirees, it's health insurance, life insurance, vision, and dental. And then we also serve a total of 824 town of Duxbury residents who are employed by either the town or the schools. So that's about 43% of our employee population that happens to be Duxbury residents.
Fun fact.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun fact, and I think it's really important to know that. Because we're living in our applicant pool. And we're serving our applicant pool on a regular basis, and I think increasingly people are looking to the town of Duxbury as we're the largest employer in town. And we're a great place to work. So I think, we work hard to have that kind of reputation, and I think we work hard to serve our employees collectively as well. So in terms of, we thought we would do a year in review so that you can see what a fully staffed HR department can accomplish. So we have had some creative solutions to some challenging problems over the last year. And these are kind of the top 4 solutions that we've come up with. We've rehired some retired employees from the town side to fill interim positions, to help out with projects, to do training, to orient new department heads. And increasingly, that is a mutually beneficial arrangement. I think it says a lot about the town of Duxbury that our retirees want to come back and work with us on a limited basis. It does present some challenges in terms of conforming with the requirements of the public retirement requirements. So we have to keep a close eye. We have to estimate what their earnings are going to be and what their hours are going to be. And we have to work collaboratively to make sure that they don't exceed that, or else they'll be considered over earners. So they get penalized. But it's been a great way to transition some of the talent back into the organization, because you'll see some of our numbers indicate that we have quite a few, we have a lot of employees who have been here for less than 5 years. So it's important to kind of transfer that institutional knowledge when we can. And we've also hired, we've partnered with department heads to hire temporary employees from similar towns with similar systems to assist as needed and train new employees, especially when we've had, like, for example, in the water department, we had a significant staff gap. So we were able to kind of fill that gap on a temporary basis with an employee from another community on an as-needed basis. And then that employee was able to help transfer those skills to the employees that were coming in. So that was a nice solution that we hadn't been able to do in the past. And then we're piloting a department head mentorship program and reference guide. So we understand that becoming a department head is a big lift, and we need to kind of standardize our onboarding as it relates to kind of skilling up those talents. And we also are exploring an in-house commercial driver's license training program to address, again, a skills gap that's happening nationally in order to close some of the vacancies in our DPW department, because what's happened is the Department of Transportation on the national level has a clearinghouse. And the clearinghouse changed the commercial driver's license requirements about 3 or 4 years ago. So now it will cost an employee $5,000 out of pocket if we hire someone without a commercial driver's license to self-license, and it's a requirement of the job. And it's a little bit of a racket, because there are outside agencies that are licensing these individuals. And there's a component with the registry of motor vehicles that is also very costly. So we can cut those costs significantly if we do it in-house and then just go external for the very end of the process. So it's a significant savings. So we will probably be getting that off the ground in the next couple of months. And then in terms of actions, we've successfully led hiring teams as an HR department for key management positions over the last year or so, including police chief, our ROC director, our finance director, DPW director, facilities director, town accountant, treasurer collector, interim planning director, and our water sewers assistant superintendent. So these are big, important hires, and we have successfully onboarded those individuals, and we're extremely happy to have them. And we're also participating in local job fairs. Again, the employment market has changed significantly over the last several years. So, him and, Nicole have engaged with Mass Hire so that we're attending, job fairs in Kingston and in Plymouth. And Mass Hire has grants and other, resources available to us that we have not accessed in the past. So we're trying to branch out, more and, take advantage of what's available. And in terms of employee retention, and attraction, we are encouraging professional development through the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, the Massachusetts Municipal Association, and their partnership with Suffolk University. And I can get in that, I'll get into that a little bit more when we get to the last page in terms of, specific programs. We are updating our Blue Cross Blue Shield HMO plans to include, discounted prescription drug programs wherever we can, because it's the specialty drugs that are really driving the cost of health insurance. So we're participating in, every prescription drug program Blue Cross Blue Shield has. And it provides, we're just checking all the boxes, it provides an out-of-pocket cost savings for the employee as well as the employer. So it's a win-win, and it's the best way to control our costs going forward. We are also constantly participating in or leading comparison of pay and benefits to our similar communities. Our most recent classification and compensation study expanded our similar communities. I think from 16 communities to 18 communities. And we have changed those similar communities to be more contiguous because, and we're including a community like Plymouth, which under most circumstances, we would not consider a comparable community, but that's where a lot of our employees have gone. So we are chasing down those numbers so that we can be as competitive as possible. And then you may have all read in the paper recently about the double-digit increases to our retiree health insurance plans. So that was shocking for everybody involved. But I will say, and this is a testament to our community and to our partners in benefits, we had a benefit fair last night here at the senior center. Unfortunately, we had very few employees come. It was just for flexible spending, and I think a lot of people are savvy and they know they can do that online, so they don't need to really come to a benefit fair for that reason. But we had over 50 employees come, and we had a benefit presentation that was put on by Blue Cross Blue Shield and our health insurance consultant from Cook and Company. And our retirees were wonderful. They were very understanding of the pay increases. It was well explained to, it was just a great presentation. It was very interactive. Our retirees are extremely sharp. They ask great questions. And, you know, at the end of the day, kind of the saving grace is last year at this time, we introduced a Medicare Advantage plan, which we did not have before. We only had a Medicare supplemental plan, which was MedX 2. So
I had to bug you to ask you the difference, just, and you gave you a one-word, a sentence answer. Why don't you just tell them?
between the supplemental and the Advantage
Yes,
plan.
please.
The difference between the Medicare supplemental plan, which went up 34% per user. So if you have 2 people enrolled, that's $60 per person per month. So for a couple, that's $120 increase per month for employees, for retirees. And so the difference in the other plan went up 19.9%. So the difference basically is that the supplemental Medicare plan has Medicare Part D, and the Advantage plan has Medicare Part, which looks like Medicare Part C and D. Part C represents cost savings such as discounts on wigs, hearing aids. It includes a very basic vision plan, hearing plan, dental plan. And it also provides weight loss and fitness reimbursements of $150 each per year. So that's not available in the MedX 2 plan. And of course, changing, especially as a retiree, because our health insurance needs aren't diminishing as we get older. It's scary to switch from one plan to another. So it was great to have two very, two rich offerings that are extremely comprehensive, and they suit different kinds of retirees. So if people are happy where they are, they can stay in the MedX plan, or they can switch to the, Medicare PPO plan. And if they don't like it, they can switch back next year. So it just provides a lot of variety where there wasn't variety last time. And one of the questions was, why don't we just have one plan? And I think this is the perfect reason why we don't have one plan, because the Medicare Advantage plan is, fully funded by, Blue Cross Blue Shield and the federal government. So they set the rate. We have no say-so on that. And the MedX plan is partially self-funded. So the medical claims is self-funded by the town of Duxbury, and we set that rate. So we don't know where health insurance is going, and it's important to have options. So, sorry, I went off on that tangent. So that's retention. And in terms of engagement, we are working to offer more wellness and employee recognition events throughout the year. We've collaborated with the select board, town manager, and the town clerk's office to host a volunteer recognition event, which was a lot of fun. And Susan, how many volunteers did we figure out that we ended up having on boards and committees? It was like almost 400, wasn't it? So that was really fun to get invite 400 people. We created a database, so it's much easier to reach out and communicate with our board and committee members, and everyone really enjoyed it. And there was kind of a lot of cross-pollination that went on, and I think people appreciated the recognition and being able to kind of socialize with people who are equally civic-minded. And then we also partnered with that same group to deliver open meeting law and conflict of interest training. Although I think we have to circle back on one of them got more attention than the other one, right?
That's okay, January, the calendar flips and we have to do it all over again.
Yeah, we'll do it that time. And then, we are communicating as frequently as possible and updating the HR webpage about all of our policies. They're all viewable. It's an external webpage, so the public can see it as well. All of the town of Duxbury's policies, our benefits, our wellness initiatives, our classification and compensation study, and related communications are all on, especially even the one that I just distributed last night. All of our resources and our Plymouth County Retirement Association information is all listed on our webpage. So on the next page, we have a breakdown of just some of our most frequent employee data. So in terms of cost, that's the first box. So this is just a snapshot at what it costs to conduct the pre-hire screening costs for non-public safety employees and public safety employees. Understanding that these costs aren't diminishing anytime soon. Beginning in July, we did make a decision to only do it was this past July, right? So it was this fiscal year. To only do pre-employment physicals. As they are absolutely required by law to save money and time when we're onboarding employees. So, that said, we're saving, $85 per person, beginning July 1st. That's why my request isn't more than it would have been ordinarily. So like, for example, when we hire, a finance director, for example, we're not going to be sending our finance director going forward for a pre-employment physical and a drug test. We used to do that with frequency. But the risks, the cost did not outweigh, or the risk avoiding the risk did not outweigh the cost. So now we're only doing pre-employment physicals for council on aging bus drivers as it is required by law, and CDL drivers. And the same goes for the drug test. Those kind of go hand in hand. We have to do that. And then we're doing background checks as well for all full-time employees, and it includes credit, education, employment, social security, address, and driver record, if the person's going to be driving. But again, we are moving in a direction of eliminating that cost, because there is a no-cost program that we can use through the Registry of Motor Vehicles, where we register people as part of the pre-employment screening process. And then if there's any offenses, that offense pops up
What
While
about
they're-
quarries?
during their quarries and stories, we will continue to do, and those are free. So we do those on absolutely everybody. So that's a little bit about that, and then in terms of, the public safety employees, our psychological evaluation costs have increased significantly. And, so that's why I'm asking for, more under that medical line item on the next page. So in terms of years of service, again, this kind of falls into this is interesting category. We have, 394 town employees with less than 5 years of service. So that was a surprising number to me, because I think municipalities are known for their longevity. But, with the Great Resignation and the baby boomer retirements, I think our numbers are changing significantly, and you can kind of see that in our organization. We have a lot of new department heads. Yeah,
Could I ask you a question about that? I
Sure.
think that's a very interesting stat on the years of service. 652 employees. And what I'm interested in is if you broke that down for the 216 full-time, what are the percentages? And the reason I'm asking that is because we're going through this pretty difficult budget process where if a lot of these people are years of service are part-time or intermittent versus full-time, then that tells us something about the skill sets that we're retaining or need going forward. So I just wanted to explore that with you. I don't know if that's a fair question to ask, but that's what I'm curious about.
so you're asking of those individuals with less than 5 years of service, like how many of our department heads or how
Well,
many?
no, it's.
Like, what's
I'm
the
just
breakdown?
taking a look at, if you categorize these, and this is a really good stat, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
It's that, you know, when somebody's here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they bring with them a cumulative amount of experience and expertise. And that's really what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
because what we're talking about on the prior page.
Yeah.
I mean, the turnover at the department head level in this place is pretty significant. So that means that there's a brain drain. And in some cases, there are some issues with safety, like water department. Again, I don't wanna, dig too far into this.
mhm.
But I'm really interested in that retention for the full term.
Yeah,
full-time people.
And you're exactly right, and actually, we were discussing this with Mary, and I think the number could also be misleading. Because the 394, that doesn't mean that these are individuals who have only been in their field for less than 5 years.
Good point,
Right,
good point.
so I think we have been very fortunate. We have had turnover within our department head positions in particular. But we have been very fortunate to hire people into those positions who are not early career. They're very much mid-career, and they bring experience to the town.
2 of them were here.
Yeah, so I think it is an interesting, I agree with you, we do want to
You're
explore
awesome.
that a little bit further. But I think, that number is interesting, it could be misleading. Because I think it indicates that we are lacking experience, but I think what it is only indicating is that we are lacking experience with the town of Duxbury, but that's not a bad thing either. Because I think I think it's important. I've only worked in one municipality. I've been in HR for almost 25 years. But this is the only municipality I've worked in.
But if I could, just to that point, because we talked a lot about this, so one of the things that signals to me, though. Is that we have, if you want to call it, a new workforce to the town of Duxbury. But now I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we retain that workforce.
Right.
So we've already invested in all of the onboarding, and Jeannie's department has gone through the recruitment and the hiring process and the onboarding, and we've invested in all of these folks. We want to make sure that we're going to retain that workforce and watch them walk through that tenure curve that we're
Well,
talking about.
the follow on to that point, and I think it's an excellent point, is incentivizing people to stay.
Yep.
And I appreciate that that's a good part of your presentation tonight, so it's good.
Thank you. Okay, so. The last page, where all the numbers are hiding. So, Kim did a great job.
Bury the
with-
lead.
With this presentation, yes. So we have, presented option 1 and option 2 as directed. And I'm sorry, it looks so little up there. It looks great on this page.
well, you also-
You
You also gave us the paper.
Go to your handouts.
Go to your handouts, everyone, because we're offline.
Yes. So, the option 1 represents, 2.47% increase. Over what was our fiscal year 25 budget. And I have included notes about why those increases exist, and I spoke about it a little bit earlier in the presentation. And we're already, like I said, as of July 1, we have scaled back those pre-employment screening costs significantly. And that's why the ask isn't more than that would have been otherwise. And the reason why, that medical services line item increases even more significantly in option 2 is because, we had suspended psychological examinations at the Rock. Because, we do, obviously, Rock is included in the public safety employee group. But we don't hire fire and police as frequently as we hire dispatchers. So dispatchers is really coming into its own as a separate career path. But there is some turnover in that career path as it's being established. And there are, how many full-time employees do we have at the Rock now?
38.
38.
38.
So that's one of those exceptions where we do save money on some of the background because the police department does the background for our Rock employees because they're under the CJIS requirements. But we also do psychological evaluations for our part-time and full-time employees in that job. It's a very stressful job and it's important to do that. So there was a backlog at one point with our psychological evaluator, and then the prices increased significantly. So we're getting ready to roll that requirement back out.
So let me ask you a question similar to the question I had asked Jake previously. Your option 2 department needs, is that more a reflection of actual costs as
Mhm.
opposed to increased
Yes,
services?
yeah, we've actually,
So if you were
Those are
looking
the
at level funded, those are the actual costs for level service, level funded, level. You're not adding anything new.
No.
In fact, you're doing less.
yes,
Okay.
strategically doing less. We're
No,
not.
no, I'm not,
Yeah,
wasn't-
But I
that
think,
wasn't-
it's important
that
that we're not
wasn't-
like
no.
throwing risk out the window.
No.
Okay.
I know you, we've met, so I wasn't really concerned on that,
Okay.
but, back to my,
It's a reflection of the increase in the actual service.
yeah, it's a
cost.
true up as opposed to an increase in services or adding people.
Yep.
Which is important.
That's
Cost of
exactly
doing
right.
business.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So, and then the other increase is under professional and technical services. This is where we use a background service provider called First Advantage. And increasingly, the backgrounds are taking longer and longer to do. And when they take longer to do, they cost more money. So, again, it falls into the category of what you just said, Betsy. So it's the cost of doing business. And again, we're trying to chip away at that additional cost in any way that we can. So like, for example, we won't be using that service. We'll be paying for driver record reporting. We'll be using the RMD free service. So we're trying to be cognizant of costs and eliminate those costs wherever we can.
Still getting the same quality of information.
Yeah, and actually it's better because the RMD service will automatically pop up when it's a violation. So it's a push rather than a pull.
Oh, nice. Any questions?
No.
Good job. Really compact.
Thanks, Jean.
Jeannie, you did a great job. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for all the help with the presentation. Well,
Did we insert?
yeah, right. At the 30 minutes for the director.
Who does an awesome job as
She
well.
certainly does,
Yes,
yeah.
you've got a great team. Yeah,
I do.
You've got a very welcoming office, but you're very efficient with what we give you.
That's okay. No, it's been recorded. It's been recorded. I promise. It's been recording the whole.
Don't
You've had every
mess with me,
second.
Linda.
Thank you.
Bye, Susie, thank you. Joseph,
Oh, isn't this all before me?
that was me, that was Jeannie,
I thought it was a historical commission.
they're not here.
They're
Oh,
on.
Ted.
Yeah, we're here.
Tag.
Go out of order.
Ed,
Yeah,
I
I'm-
think,
I'm here as well, but I'm here in support of Ed because there was a transition this year in the historical commission, so it's Ed's show.
Ed's gonna do the, okay, Ed, you ready to do a presentation?
Yeah, except Tag told me about it yesterday, so I don't really have a presentation, but I do know what's going on a little bit. Basically, I think historically we've asked for $1,000 for our budget. And we did use that this year successfully for some mailings, and that would be what we would use it for, the majority of it. We're also working on a project right now to digitize all our historic records. And I'm sure we're working with couple different ways to do that. I think it would be great to use it as like a senior service project, so there's no cost incurred. But there will be some small cost associated with that. So those are really the two main items for going forward, looking at a fiscal budget.
Okay,
So,
And then data storage, when we do get everything digitized, is gonna cost some money, but it's not gonna be much.
okay,
I'm trying to understand.
Do you understand any of those words?
So they're doing a records digitization project is what he was talking about. And he just said that they were gonna try to use a senior work-off volunteer to try to assist.
uh-huh,
But I just want to clarify, so Ed, your budget has been $1,000 for quite some time. It has
Yes.
been, it has been submitted again as $1,000. And can you confirm that you're asking to retain that?
Yep, that's correct.
Perfect.
done and done, Ed.
Done and done.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, now that I have your attention, I have a quick question.
Oh, sure.
With all these financial heads in the room.
Yeah.
In another project, it's been a concern for people in town for a while that some of the town assets, historical assets. Need to do a little bit better with maintenance, like the Girl Scout house, the Tarpon building. So the way that, and I've been in touch with the Hingham Historical Commission, and they have what's called in the state, they have a historic preservation fund, preservation projects fund, it's called. And through the state, we're allowed to solicit donations for assets like this. But my question is to you guys is what's the landing spot for if we were to take a donation, do we create a separate fund or attempt to do that? Or does it go?
Call me tomorrow.
Call Mary tomorrow, because we're getting like every third word you say,
Okay,
and I think we're missing some important parts.
okay, I'll give you a call, Mary. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, the connection isn't that great, but if you're trying to give us money, we will find a place for it.
All right, great.
All right, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Tag, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I could add a little flavor if you want to engage in that, but if you don't, I understand.
Well, it's $1,000 is the budget, so that's kind of where our head's at tonight, is just getting through that, but
Mhm.
whatever the other piece was, yeah, if you can give Mary a call and maybe you can tag in on, oh, sorry, no, tag in. Why would I have said that? That was terrible. But you know what I mean. Thank you.
Sure thing.
We'll be seeing you Monday.
See you soon.
Good luck on that, buddy. All right, thank you.
No.
Okay, Joe,
No one else?
now,
Now it's my turn?
now.
Are you sure?
Does anybody here want to hear Joe, or are we over it?
No, I should have went before them.
Are we done with this, or
Do you have a PowerPoint that you?
I do, yes.
you have a PowerPoint?
I do.
Oh, yes.
I didn't yell it out, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's the problem.
Oh, Oh, Matt, did I say that with so much conviction? Maybe there's an HR violation there.
Such a handsome face.
He's holding up too.
What are you doing, Joe?
Just warming up this presentation.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Oh, great. Thank you. Is it on? You don't have a computer?
Is it me? Did you just get them? That email? I just came in. Oh, did you have these on there?
No.
The news, they open the bids. Did it clear? It's really low.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's good news. Real good news.
Yeah, so this is true.
Yes, that's true. 1,000,000 versus 5. Do you have that?
I was gonna ask later.
No, it didn't.
If in fact.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, sometimes when you get these things.
You were just pairing.
Is it on its committee or you personally?
It came to me personally, so just, and I assume we're still combining.
I didn't have it, so.
Forward to you. They usually have her name.
So what it is.
We don't.
So now they're gonna add they'll add the square feet back in. They'll add the square feet.
Well, I read this correctly.
Oh, wow. 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 Not his contract.
Yeah.
I
didn't autograph it.
Okay, all right, well.
I didn't give you my card too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I didn't have to follow your ad.
I thought it.
Which year?
This one.
The one I use here is Brent Weiler. Senior, that's all right. Brent Weiler senior.
You saw it. Take my card.
That's all right. You know.
I'm checking. Yeah, I've already got myself in trouble. Yes, I want to go around here. I. There you go, start your, there we get the enterprise.
Well, thank you all for having me tonight. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Joseph Green. I'm the director of the Regional Colony Communications Center. I started in February as the director. No stranger to town though. I started at the Rock in 2015. I was the dispatch supervisor, deputy director, and in 2022 I left to go pursue 911 regionalization at the state level with the state 911 department. In December, Chief Nord and Chief Reardon called, looking to pique my interest if I wanted to return back as the director, and the rest, as they say, is history. Thank you. I'm excited to be back. I loved it here. I didn't leave on bad terms. I left to just pursue regionalization at a higher level. With me is my deputy director, Matt Tucker. Matt's been here longer than me. He wins. Those that don't know much about the Rock, we're a regional emergency communications center, which means we provide 911, police, fire, EMS dispatch services to all of our member communities. We handle roughly 98,000 calls annually. And a big thing that I like to put out there is since opening the doors in 2013, we have yet to ask the town for any capital money. Because we're a REC, a regional emergency communications center, we're afforded the opportunity to apply for and receive grant funding through the state. So a lot of what you see here today is grant funded. So as I made this presentation, I was really trying to figure out a way to tout or to show the benefit to regionalization. And there were many ways I could have done that. And one of the ways I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you all to take a little journey with me. And we're gonna go back to 2013 before regionalization started. And we're gonna put ourselves in the communication center, and there's only two of us working. And then one phone rings, there's a call coming in. Well, one of us is gonna pick it up. And it's Betsy, she's reporting a motor vehicle crash on Tremont Street, multiple vehicles, multiple injuries, and a potential vehicle fire. So that call taker is gonna take the call, gather the information, so that the dispatcher can then dispatch police and fire. Well, we're already at our first dilemma. And that dilemma is, who is that dispatcher gonna send first? Because there's only one. Are they gonna send the fire department because there's potential injuries and maybe a vehicle fire? Or are they gonna send the police officer who could be right around the corner? Either way, there's a delay in getting a response out to the services. A call for help is in, there's gonna be a delay getting out there, because there's only one dispatcher. Now, last week, Chief Carbone and Chief Reardon were here, and in Chief Reardon's presentation, he talked about simultaneous calls. Simultaneous calls are not native to Duxbury. This is happening across all 6 of our communities. We get a call, and then 2 seconds later, we get another call for the same community. So here comes a simultaneous call. It's Jean. She's reporting that she just witnessed someone going into cardiac arrest. Who's gonna answer that call? There's a couple of options. Option A, the call taker terminates that call. Meaning, we don't have enough we didn't gather a lot of information to pass on to our responders. Because we didn't gather enough information, we missed the fact that one of those vehicles involved in the crash was a hazardous materials truck that's on fire. So now there's a significant threat to public safety that's not being handled or not being relayed over to responders because we had to terminate that call. Another option, the dispatcher can just pick up. Well, one of the big misconceptions is that we just handle the 911 calls and someone else handles all the radio work. It's not true. The staff at the Rock and the staff at every dispatch center across the Commonwealth is responsible for record keeping and noting every single action that happens at that scene until the last officer clears and the last fire apparatus backs back into the firehouse. So now because they have to pick the phone up, they miss the fact that the call taker puts into the notes that, hey, there's a hazardous material issue on scene, and that's not related to responders. The end all be all is after 20 seconds, every 911 center in the Commonwealth has a backup. Phone rings for 20 seconds, it's gonna roll to our backup. The backup center is gonna pick it up. All they're gonna hear is there's a problem in Duxbury, and they're just gonna say, yeah, hold on a second, and they're gonna transfer it back. Either way, it's a delay. There's a delay. Now, I said take a trip back to 2013, but the reality is, this is the model that is seen across many communities here in Massachusetts. This is inefficient, and it's a significant threat to public safety. So let's go to where we are today. Same scenario. Betsy calls, calling the crash. My call taker picks the phone up. They gather information. It's gonna go to 2 dispatchers, a police dispatcher and a fire dispatcher. Those 2 dispatchers, as close to simultaneous as possible, are gonna relay that to police and fire. Throw in the simultaneous call, Jean's calling, she has the person that's in cardiac arrest, she needs to know how to do CPR. Within 3 seconds, that call is picked up by call taker number 2. They do the same thing, gather the information, pass it along to another dedicated police and fire dispatcher, and simultaneously, well, as simultaneously as possible, they will give that to police and fire to start response. Everything you see up here on the screen is done without delay, and it's done within 53 seconds. Our average ring to pick up is 3 seconds. So from the time you hit 1 and send on your phone, 3 seconds, we pick up. Roughly about 30 seconds of interrogation, and then 10 seconds of voice talk over the radio. The national average to get an 911 call out is 90 seconds. We do it in 53. This right here is the true benefit to regionalization. It is the betterment of public safety for your citizens. Yes, financially, there are some benefits to it, but that's a byproduct. To be able to have a system in place that provides life-saving measures when seconds count is the true benefit. So with that, I'll jump into our budget. So on the revenue front, I am anticipating to receive 2.1 million in revenue from our member communities. I am anticipating a $2.945 million grant fund from the state. On my salaries, 3.202 million. Of that, 2.7, just over 2.7 million will be covered via grant, or is anticipated to be covered via grant funding. Meaning I'm only gonna have to ask my member communities for about $400,000 in salary costs. Operating expenses is about 799. Of that, about 150,000 I'm expecting to be used for, or be covered by grant funding, which is just under, just under 650,000, again, to the member communities. My indirect costs, so health insurance, life insurance, all that fun stuff. Unfortunately, that's not allowed in grant funding, so that is 100% in through the member share. So that goes into our share across the six communities. And then the total in reserve for unforeseen circumstances. The very beginning, you saw that the center it is 100% based on technology. Technology is great until it breaks. And when it breaks, it costs a lot of money to fix it. And it's also including the building itself. Building is relatively brand new, but I need to be prepared for any of these unforeseen issues that may happen.
This is an aside, everybody knows that this is an enterprise now. And so what Joe is referring to as far as reserves is similar to the water department. And other enterprise funds, they can build up a reserve for unforeseen circumstances. So it's a new enterprise fund, so he's in the process of doing that with these funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So big thing with the budget, 68% is dedicated to salaries, 17% is dedicated to expenses, and 15% is dedicated to the indirect costs. So to break it down a little bit on the salary front, 2.840 is what I'm expecting in base salary and wages. So the first three items, salaries, intermittent, and overtime, those are the big three that are covered through grant funding. So that 2.78 or 2.76, that's where that grant money would go to. Unfortunately, the grant does not pay for emergency overtime, stipends, cleaning, anything like that. That all comes out of the member share. Some things that maybe kind of look a little wonky. Well, hey, why do we go up in intermittent and seasonal? The budget was created in 25 prior to my arrival. I don't know why that was reduced. The 53 is our true inherent number of the amount of part-time shifts we have and the salary that they make. So that's the true number. I don't know where the 40 came from.
Joe has had the additional challenge since he's new that rebuilding the budget and doing tests on all of the line items to make sure that they're accurate. And he has found some areas where he had to work the numbers, and this is one.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to bring up too is.
Friend, I'm sorry, did you?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's another thing, just for everyone's understand, is a enterprise fund, there's only one budget, that's not one, two.
One of the big things I found as I was going through all this is we didn't have a true accounting for all the expenses that we took in, or all the expenses that we paid out. We kind of left things off because, it's grant funded, so great. I'm of the mindset of I need to be transparent, not just with my member communities, but with the town leadership, including this board. So this budget is based on the true inherent costs of everything we come through, whether or not it's grant funded or not. Because I think that it needs to be there in case one day the grants do disappear. I have that ability to say, all right, do I need it? Do I not need it? On the expense front, I can go line by line, but I highlighted the two biggest things that may jump out at everybody, and that is our computer service agreements and our subscription and publications. It's basically the difference between that is hardware for the computer service agreements. It's all of our hardware, firewalls, computer base licenses, all that good stuff. And subscriptions and publications is all of the software and other fun things that come with it. On the service agreements, what's driving that cost is we are moving to a brand new computer-aided dispatch system. This new computer-aided dispatch system is gonna really revolutionize how we do business over there. And it's gonna be tremendously helpful for all of our member communities. So one of the things I heard Chief Carbone say in his presentation last week was that getting data to provide all of you is very difficult through our current CAD. That will no longer be the case. We will have a robust reporting system using analytics and artificial intelligence that will be able to help him paint a better picture for all of you.
Yeah, Joe, who did you work with? Or is this the 9/11?
Yes.
Okay, so this is all the 9/11. So, does 9/11, is there a consulting service? Is there best in practice? Is there, I mean, how do you arrive at the best in practice, right? Or best in class for this kind of, technology?
So I wrote it when I was with the state.
Oh, okay, great. So we have the pro, okay, we got the expert, okay. Great.
But in terms of what the state does, they don't like to dictate. That's what I learned while I was working there. They like to be kind of hypothetical. So what I did in terms of our technology, was I kind of looked at what's being used at other regional centers across the Commonwealth and nationwide. So as we kind of developed our technology picture, that's where I'm going with. The CAD system is the one thing that unfortunately I did not have a say in. It was started before I came back. I believe in the product, I believe in how we're doing things, and the reason I believe in it is it's a shared CAD system, so a group of regional centers got together and said, hey, let's create a center, or let's create a computer-aided dispatch system, or get a computer-aided dispatch system together. And per the vendor, there is economies of scale that may reduce costs here and there. I believe a salesperson as far as I can throw.
Okay, good, so you know all about that mystery ware. And you do have 24/7 services, so if your service goes down at any point, or there any service interruption, there's somebody right there with you.
Yep.
And there's your backup plan, your what am I trying to say?
Continuity of operations?
Yeah, continue operations.
Yep,
It's
so we, our backup center is in Foxborough, it's the SEMREC, they're the closest, largest regional that can handle our call volume. They have our redundancy, so if for whatever reason our radio system was to fail here, they can log in, pull up our radios, and begin dispatching Duxbury, Plimpton, Halifax, you name it, they can dispatch from there.
So you have a solid disaster recovery. plan in
Yes,
place.
and this new CAD system is going to be cloud native. So there's no servers, so that means if anything was to ever happen over there, I could get a laptop and send Matt up into this room with a portable radio and he could dispatch out of here like nothing.
Which is important. Okay, great.
Are you their redundancy?
We are their backup, and the same goes for us. I can pull up their radios and I could dispatch their units. We're in the process of doing a big cross training or getting a cross training program together. To be able to truly back each other up, especially with this new CAD system coming on board. To be able to take their 911 calls, put it into the computer system and dispatch it out. You know, if they were over in Foxborough when the 911 outage happened here over the summertime.
It's so important to eliminate those deficits. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. On the grant funding, 86% of my grants will go towards funding salaries. And I am anticipating a 35% increase in grant funding from 25. Thing with the grants, there's no guarantee in them. There is one competitive grant, that's our development grant. And that is the grant that I use to fund all my capital projects. I won't know that award until July. However, the other remaining grants are support and incentive, our training and our EMD grants. I generally have an idea of what I'm getting. I've been meeting with the leadership at State 901, and I feel very confident that I will get my 2.945 this year.
But also the actual grants are awarded in January, did you tell me?
So January is when I know for certain what I'm getting.
So there's an ample time that if there is an adjustment on this, that he's got some room before town meeting before, if something unforeseen happens.
Yep. Which I don't expect. One of the big questions I do always get is, are you worried about these grants? Are you worried about the grants? And if I didn't work at State 901 before here, I would say, yeah, I'm 100% worried about the grants. However, working there and understanding how the grant programs work, all of the grant programs are funded through the 911 surcharge. So on your cell phone bill, your landline bill is $1.50. that goes into a fund. Massachusetts is one of a very small handful of states that has that money protected. Meaning the governor can't decide on a Tuesday that, oh, I need $1 million, let me just go to that 911 fund and take it. They can't do that. It stays directly per legislation, it goes towards the 911 centers. So I'm not really worried about our support incentives and our EMD and our training grants going away. My main concern is my development grant. There are 31 active regional centers right now with 3 in development. We're gonna be at 34, 35, and that's a big pot to start fighting with to try to get capital requests. So in the years past, 2013 up to even last year, we could wish list it. Hey, what do you guys want? Let's wish list it.
And you did?
And we did. And that's gonna get tougher to do. So it's really gonna be on me to have to work with our member communities, including Duxbury, to figure out what are our most important capital requests.
So we've got a nice foundation.
We do. We do.
Who's, so, I know that what you do is so specialized, right? The equipment that you have is so specialized, your technology is very specialized. When you are looking for, like network, but it all comes up under IT, right?
Yeah.
From a network perspective, right? From a town support, so you're working closely with.
So I have a chief technology officer, Ed
That's what
Scarpino.
you do
We
have
have,
that.
we have Ed Scarpino, and Ed
He's
is
the network guy.
Ed is a godsend.
Yeah.
I know enough about technology to make me dangerous. I don't know enough to fix it. Ed is my
Ed
guy.
and Mike Westford used to work very, very closely with each other.
Yes.
So, okay.
They are very, Ed's a very tech savvy guy.
Yeah.
He's helped me out a million times. He's actually creating a ton of good policies for us in terms of tech. And he's helped develop the technology
Yeah, I
budget for
forgot
me.
that, Joe, thank you.
So the real crux, why am I here? What do I need? So I am very confident that I will get my grant funding, and with that grant funding, I am confident that I'll be able to keep the town of Duxbury's assessment at 600,000, which is where it has been since FY24, I believe. Now, in the interest of fair and transparent, I'm very transparent. I want to show you the figure of what it would be if there was no grant funding at all. If the grant funding ever disappeared, if there was 0 grant funding at all, the total would be 1.299. One of the questions I have heard as I've gone and made presentations like this across the Commonwealth was, well, why don't we just keep it the same way, let's just keep it the same way. You could do that, but the way the world right now, how it is to get dispatch staff to be competitive in pay. I went out and kind of took a little assessment as to what it would actually cost to just operate. This number I'm gonna show you is just total operating costs, doesn't include anything in capital. This is 2 dispatchers, which at the beginning of this presentation, I kind of just said is not the way to go. 2 dispatchers, 1 administrator to kind of oversee the entire program and all the operating costs that go with it. You're looking at about 1.525. And that's just access to 2 dispatchers. At the regional level, for 600,000, you have access to up to 8 at any given time. And even if the grant was to disappear, which I hate to say it'll never will, but it'll never will. 1.299 is where.
Just
you'd
say
be at.
it's very unlikely.
Very unlikely. There you go. I like that one. It's very unlikely it'll go away.
Your professional opinion is.
Yes. So, again, the fiscal savings is a byproduct, but the true inherent benefit of regionalization is the betterment to public safety and the betterment to the citizens of the community. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Question.
Yes.
Do you make this presentation to all of the member towns?
So-
they see what we see?
We have never done that in the past. But again, I'm very transparent and I have emailed my chiefs today to say, hey, if you want to get me on your calendars, let me know. Cause we've only done it to the town of Duxbury. But I'm in firm belief that you are one of
So
our
they accept their
customers.
assessment without any understanding of what's behind it.
In the history, and I can speak from 18 when I came into the administration up until I left in 22, we have never done anything except to this town. And I've always questioned that to say, hey, why aren't we going to Plimpton to say, this is what your assessment's going towards? But I've sent out the invites to my member chiefs to say, hey, if you want me to go talk at your fiscal advisory committee, your select board, all I've done is send the assessment letter and
What ties these member towns to the Rock? in terms, it's in contracts,
Yeah, we have an intermunicipal agreement.
how long are they, 5 years? And
So
How
they've
how's
been-
the relationship with all of that?
I have a great way to be blunt and transparent. It was rocky when I returned. I've rebuilt it. We are on good relationship. I have a 1-year deal with everybody right now. And the only reason why I did a 1-year deal this year is I'm kind of courting the town of Pembroke to come in on a full-time basis. And if they come in, that does, make some moves assessment wise and budget wise. So I didn't want to lock everybody in for 3 years and have to have, more negotiations, if you would, when Pembroke came in. So that's my hope, is to get them in for next fiscal year. If not, I will be looking for a 3-year deal, because to be quite honest, I hate doing 1-year deals.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that I had to step out,
No worries.
but under subscriptions and publications.
Yes.
You. 13,465 up to 155, it looks like there might be some technology.
Yeah, so-
Breakdown schedules, that is what I'm looking at.
That's that one there.
Okay.
And one of the things I had said is that when we've put the budget together in years past, we've never done a true accounting of what our total operating or our total costs were. We've left things off of certain categories because the grant covered them. That 155 is a true inherent cost of everything we have going in there. And part of what that is when I returned in February, I found out that we didn't have redundancies built in. In July, there was a pole fire over on Lincoln Street. Took out the main entry point for Verizon, Comcast, and T-Mobile. All three are our providers for our network.
Internet.
So I was down for about 3 hours. I had to send a signal flare out to my backup center at the SEMREC, and they came and brought me a Starlink, Elon Musk's satellite internet. And that got us back online until we were back officially online. So I went out and purchased a Starlink, and that's where some of that money is coming out of for next year. So I need the backup. My downtime has to be close to 0.
It has to be 0.
And this is a new enterprise fund, so I think that we've seen this when we transfer to an enterprise from budgeting, that it does take a couple of years to really true up and have a real solid accounting. And this is the first year that you have that.
Yep.
So, we'll be looking forward to next year, but I truly believe it's a 3-year window before you can say, yeah, this is solid. Because you just don't know what you don't know for a while.
Yes.
And you've had a change in leadership and so on and so forth, and you're getting your discovery, right?
Oh, I am.
Well, these numbers, I think I actually think these numbers are real good. But, based on working with Joe, but I'd still stand by the 3-year rule on any new enterprise fund. Good job.
Yes. How are you doing?
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they just sit there, and all that, it's fun for you, I know. Jeannie stayed, because she's a team player. Tad, did you have any questions, or you just hanging out? Oh, sorry, you're gone.
No, I'm here. No questions. Really appreciate the presentation, Joe. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Tad.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Super. All right, so that is tonight.
We have to vote on something, right?
Yep, yeah, well, I was getting there.
You said-
I'm confused by the whole, I thought we already voted Article 8.
You didn't have any
We
numbers.
voted Article 8, but you didn't see it until I just sent it out.
We didn't have any numbers.
We didn't have the numbers till we got this. It was unpaid bills. Did we vote? We voted unpaid bills.
Correct, we did.
I'm a little
Paid bills.
confused.
I'm sorry, what?
Good night, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice meeting you back.
You'll have my card if you wanna come by and see the place, please.
Thank
feel
you.
free
We
to
got
reach
your
out.
cell phone, even better. So,
You can always get me.
go
It's
ahead.
like hurting cats already.
It is,
Okay,
totally.
we're gonna talk about Article 8, which is supplemental appropriations.
Yeah.
We did not vote it because I did not finish it until the other day when I sent it out. So
Okay,
we can
cool.
take a look at Article 8, that would be fantastic. Does everybody have the email that I sent out?
I'm looking, what was the date, Mary, again?
I'll call it up on the screen.
Wednesday.
Was Wednesday? Okay.
She loves it when we guess.
All right, I got it.
So there's an article for supplemental appropriations in the amount of $960,425. It is for 3 items. Jared, do you want me to call it up on the screen? Do you need to see it?
I have it. Hard copy.
I don't understand it at all.
Pretty good. Technological wizard.
I left mine home.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so this is the motion for the article, $960,425. It is to be funded through raise and appropriate, which is taxation for $875,138.70. And the balance, $85,000, will be funding from the premium that we received in May. So the bulk of this is for debt service. And so what happened is in April of this year, I issued bans, which are temporary notes. I issued one set of bans for a couple of different purposes. One purpose is for the DPW facility. I issued $5 million in short-term debt for the DPW facility and $5 million in short-term debt for the seawall construction project. This will be the first interest payment that is due on those projects during FY25. So because that debt issuance happened after town meeting, it was not included in the March town meeting, so it will now be included in this special town
So
meeting.
you said Seawall, Mary, and the other one?
So it was the seawall, the DPW facility, and it was also. $1.3 million for 3 dual facility projects that were previously authorized at of another town meeting. So $13.5 million in bans were issued, and this is covering the interest payment that is due on those bans in May of 25. Okay. The next line is for the police department, $250,000 for their, to adjust their salary line. What happened is right before town meeting in March, we were hustling up to, complete the collective bargaining negotiations with the police department and settle 2 different contracts. And during the March town meeting, we brought forward the articles for the payment of the retro wages that were due for it was a couple of fiscal years that we actually had to go calculate and bring forward. What we did not do at that time is adjust the FY25 budget to include the impact of that collective bargaining agreement because we were so focused on the retro calculation. So this trues up their budget for FY25 to incorporate the impact of the collective bargaining agreement. And the third line is $100,000 for facilities, because I think at every single finance committee meeting that you have held so far this year, and there's probably been about 22 of them. I think we've mentioned facilities at every one of them in need for some funding in that budget.
I thought that, so this is funding immediate. Yes, okay. I thought that we had covered a lot of this deficit with ARPA funds. And I was interested in knowing what the 100,000 spend represented in the current environment.
So Katie has, so as you know, as she presented the other night, her existing budget right now under property repairs and maintenance does not even cover her required services of the inspections and the maintenance that need to happen on things like sprinkler systems, fire extinguishers, elevators, all of those septic system pumping, all of the things that we need to do and take care of on a required basis for all of our assets. Her current budget does not even include funding to cover all of that for this fiscal year, let alone purchasing filters to replace in the HVAC systems and do other things. Yes, sir.
When the 3 of us met with Katie separately in an attempt to help with the facilities budget, you were with us. It was made pretty clear, I thought, by her, that when she looked at all of the things that were mandatory things she had to do, she had like $2,500 per building left to spend. So she was obviously in the hole. And this, I think, is a good way to address the current year. Hopefully the money that she's asked for the other night will do a better job for 26.
Well, she's coming in to talk to us
On the 19th.
on the 19th anyway, with her budget.
It's just, And again, you know, I'm not
This is,
looking,
this money is not project based. That's your question, and the answer is it is not project based.
Just all those fingers in the tank.
Operational issues.
so we have we're saying that we have a shortfall in 2025 of this amount,
Estimate.
estimate, whatever, that's the, is that?
I'm not saying that, no,
Correct.
I'm
Okay.
saying that we are adding, I'm asking to add an additional $100,000 to that department. To allow them to do the work that they need to do. We know that there's multiple years worth of backlog, so. Am I telling you that there will be a $100,000 deficit at the end of fiscal 25 if we do not appropriate this money? No, I'm not telling you that, but what I am telling you is there will be an awful lot of work that should have gotten done that will not get done yet again for another year.
Yeah, I'm just trying to right size it in my head, right? Because Katie's trying to get up to speed, she's looking at older assessments that were made, old surveys, she's trying to develop a budget for 2026. And to try to really to understand how big is this bread box, you know, how far are we? Or have we not been, you know, sizing this right, truing up our costs and putting our facilities budget perhaps in a deficit position in order to fund other departments to get in a balanced budget situation. So when I saw the 100,000, I was just in my mind trying to think of, is that what we need to get through to the end of?
Is that enough? Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
is that enough to get us through the end of 2025?
No.
Yeah. And that's really.
That's all you,
No,
that's all you got though.
if I could give her the full 960, I would.
Yeah. But 100's all, but,
Yes,
and that was my,
yes.
don't cry, it's okay.
No, as
Your eyes are burning.
I know, I'm sorry. But so there's no way we can increase that number,
that. She will make that work.
okay?
I'm trying to look read the leaves, right, the tea leaves a little bit, right? To say, what is that number? What should that number be?
Our
Right?
capital budget for next year that she presented last night to fiscal advisory was 317,000.
That was capital.
That was
It's
capital.
only capital, only capital, that's not the cost of.
Running
keeping
that's
the
coming
lights
to
on,
us later.
Is my point, right?
Well, and I think one of the points was because last night I was listening to her going, what the hell, 300,000, are you
It's
kidding me?
nothing.
And
Nothing.
a friend made the very on point comment, that's all she can do. So you could give her $1 million, but she hasn't got the staff, the time, or the ability to proceed. I mean, she's gonna,
And-
she's constrained by the size of her department and what you can do in a work week or
Well,
a
and the
24 day.
complexity of the project, so.
Yeah,
And as Mary pointed out, that we
Yeah.
approved at town meeting last year, several other projects that were funded through articles.
Yeah.
That are in the quay, because of engineering studies, they're going out for bid, blah, 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 blah. So they don't get done just because we gave her the money, they don't get done overnight. So those projects she's trying to manage at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not
So
even
she's gonna
going
play.
into the project related stuff, right? It's what's actually,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Zip.
It's actually just, this represents this is cost of running the department. Right? This is the cost of running that department that we've not been keeping up with. And we're trying,
That isn't even enough. This is all.
no, that, I think that's the point Kathleen's
What we
making,
can
it's
do,
not
we
enough.
Yeah.
But it's what we can do, because if Mary, I think just said, if she could give them, make that 100,000, 900,000, she'd do it. There you go, I'm getting the yes,
Yeah.
so this is all she's got,
All we got.
There is
and if it changes
No end.
between now and Monday.
Let us know.
well, I
This will
think,
not change.
I think
Or
that tells
March.
the story, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do it again in March.
And we have another bite at the apple in March if indeed these monies are depleted. So,
Like a motion, Mrs. Chair, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Madden,
Mrs. Chair.
sure, let me do
Move
it.
that the finance committee approve Article 8, subject supplemental appropriations in the total amount of $960,425.
Second.
Right. All those in favor?
We're all here.
We're all here,
Aye.
Aye.
so 800.
Okay, and so that will be the first time that folks will start to see some of that debt service go into their tax bill to start to pay for the. Okay,
I'm sorry, say, I didn't hear that, Mary, I'm sorry.
this debt service here.
Yeah.
Will be the start of folks starting to see that on their tax bills in FY 2025. So when those actual bills go out in January.
Right.
Okay,
Mary,
the second issue is Article 9.
Yep.
Article 9 is not being moved forward. It is unpaid bills. I am indefinitely postponing it. And the reason is that unpaid bills are funded with free cash. And our free cash has not yet been certified because the fiscal year end closing of the books has been delayed.
So we'll have to wait to the special within the annual.
Exactly.
Okay,
we need to sit.
So we have to revote
It's hard
that,
to
'cause I
hear you
think
when
we
you're
voted to
What's that?
It's hard to hear you when you're behind.
I've never been called quiet.
It's in that corner of the room,
He's
your
happy
voice
with
isn't projected.
she's
We have to
happy back
we
there
have
though,
to
so that
revote
works
that.
for me.
Did we vote that in the affirmative? Do we have to revote it?
You wouldn't have, we didn't move it. Well,
We haven't, we
You
didn't,
voted
We hadn't
to
voted that
indefinitely
yet?
postpone it.
Okay.
I can.
so we don't have to do
All right.
anything with it, which is
Thank
just
you.
gonna be in. Can I have a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 9 for the special town meeting?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we just decided to indefinitely postpone number 9.
Excellent, thank you. So that should take care of all of the articles for town meeting. I do believe that you guys have voted on it, right?
How about some happy news? DPW time. We're doing the dancing in the streets. The bids came back. They're underneath
They're
where
favorable.
they're great, and so instead of trying to, and I won't say reappropriate or remove or
Ask for
Just-
additional financing.
whatever number, whatever name she wants me to put on, it's $1 million, right? Instead of 5 million, we're only looking to use $1 million from the reduction, so that means it's a $4 million less debt that will be out there.
That bid include the extra square footage going back.
No,
No, I wish it did,
It's a downside for.
But it did
Second
include.
down.
but it does,
It did include the canopy, which is incredibly important because that canopy had been a bid alternate.
Yeah.
Each time we had gone up to bid.
Well, that's good
and the
news.
canopy is a
Yeah.
very crucial part of this project.
and a better foundation for the salt house.
So, yeah, so some of these things are
Wow.
very, very.
It's all good news.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the increase after the initial decrease plan for the DPW.
yes.
Right, they came back with a gutted version and.
That's correct. We engineer,
Yeah, okay.
value
Yes.
engineer.
Yes.
That's
I
very
hear
true.
Thanks.
No,
Yes, it is. At
Right.
least it was done professionally. It was-
I mean, you know, if I had my druthers, I'd take the whole 5 million and do it right, but that's not.
Let's not push our luck when we.
that would be an
know what's coming.
editorialized opinion.
What will happen at the town meeting now with,
I don't regret it.
since in the article is asking for 5 million?
We will make a modification in the motion,
To 1 million.
and that's pretty standard.
Okay.
You can make modifications on town meeting floor.
Question?
Sure.
This is directed to Mary. I don't know whether there's been any dialogue between the fire and the police regarding the cost for 4 people. The fire department was the same as 2 people to the police. There was some thoughts that some monies were left out from one side. Has that been reconciled at all?
In terms of, what was the statement that you guys heard?
Well,
That drove this-
basically, we
this
heard
line
it
of
was gonna
questioning?
cost $500,000 to hire 4 people in the fire department and the same amount to hire 2 people in the police department.
And was that based on, let me ask you a question, was
Round
that
up.
based on comparing the FY 26
Right.
requested budget to the
Right.
FY 25 current
Right.
budget?
Right.
Okay, so
There's a carryover of money.
it was, so hang on, I can explain it very easily based on the article that you just voted.
Mhm.
So the supplemental appropriations, as I've indicated to you, the FY 25 budget did not include the
The retro.
impact of the collective bargaining agreement. So now that you've just voted that and we put that into their budget, the differential between those 2 years is much smaller. So it was misleading because it didn't have that in there.
It wasn't a true cost.
To clarify something that I wake up in the middle of the night, so it's 2 policemen and 4 firemen.
That was what those departments had
Yeah,
requested.
that's
That's
what I
correct.
was, yeah, oh, thank you.
And then, so just as we discussed last time, we're gonna be, as we get finished up on the 19th and the 21st with the schools, right? we're gonna start going in and Brady's gonna have his town manager's recommendations. And we're gonna go through and do column A, column B, and with it all broken out so that we can make those decisions ahead before he goes to the selectmen on the 9th.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Harry, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. We're all set. Monday, 18th. Yep. Be there, be square.
Remind everybody, Monday nights is special. Now, do you want to stay an hour early for any kind of votes?
No, we have no more votes to be done. I would
Be there
say
on time.
be there 15 minutes early in case, what else, but
There's gonna be,
Black tie.
black tie.
Oh, yeah.
black tie.
We'll be red carpeting.
You know how I feel about dress codes.
we are anticipating a crowd, so try to arrive early to find
Get a parking
parking
spot.
and get in and checked in.
Yeah, they'll all leave after.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's get there a half hour ahead of time so you can get yourself squared away.
Can I get a second?
Unless you don't care about.
All those in favor? Great, thank you.